They're stateless, impoverished, and victims of ongoing human rights abuses. But how much do you know about the Rohingya of Myanmar? I'm Dina Takuri, and here's a look at one of the world's most persecuted minorities. Myanmar, the country formerly known as Burma, was long considered a pariah state ruled by a military junta. But in 2011, half a century of military rule came to an end with democratic elections. But democracy hasn't brought universal freedom to all the people of Myanmar. And in Arakan state, the rise of a militant branch of Buddhist nationalists has sparked what Human Rights Watch has called an ethnic cleansing against the minority Muslim population. Myanmar is at a geographic crossroad between China and India. It also shares borders with Bangladesh, Laos, and Thailand, which means it has long been ethnically diverse. In fact, the country recognizes 134 ethnic groups, but refuses to consider the 1.3 million Rohingya one of them, even though they've lived in Myanmar for centuries and call it their homeland. In 1982, a law was passed that denied them citizenship formally. They can't travel or get married without permission, they can't own land, and some of them are forbidden from having more than 2 children. Recently, in 2014, they were excluded from the country's first census in 30 years. To the majority of the country, they're merely squatters who illegally immigrated from Bangladesh. Over the past 2 years, long-simmering tensions erupted, with Rohingya coming under attack by mobs of Buddhist nationalists who claim that they are protecting the country against a Muslim invasion. It's Myanmar's worst bloodshed in generations, with Rohingya being burned out of their homes and held in de facto open-air prisons. Hundreds have died in various massacres. Fearful for their lives, several 100,000 Rohingya have had no choice but to flee. Here's how one Rohingya refugee who fled Myanmar described it. Being stateless and displaced makes them vulnerable to human traffickers who often extort money to get them across borders. Men get sold into indentured slavery, and women are sold as brides. Hundreds die at sea when their ships capsize. Myanmar is basically throwing its international legitimacy in question through its treatment of its most vulnerable minority. The violence against the Rohingya has also become a challenge for Nobel Peace Prize winner Aung San Suu Kyi's image as a unifying moral force. She's a devout Buddhist and now opposition leader in parliament. But this is what she had to say about the Rohingya.
No, it's not ethnic cleansing. It's a new problem, and yet it's linked to old problems as well.
So now that you know a bit more about the Rohingya people's plight, how do you think the international community should act?
The voice of sharing, Durian
Hi, this is Arlene, and of course you are with us at Durian ASEAN, the voice of discovery and sharing. Today we are going to discuss on a topic that has been plaguing Southeast Asia for far too long. I'm talking about a community that is deemed to be stateless and not being recognized by the government in its own country. I'm talking about the Rohingya, a community that have been living in Myanmar, especially in the state of Arakan. And for this community, they have been suffering human rights abuses by the government of Myanmar. They were also being persecuted by the Burmese people, especially by extremist Buddhist monks. The Rohingya are also victims of human trafficking, with the recent boat people crisis as well as mass graves found in the border between Thailand and Malaysia. Nevertheless, international voices and concern against the Myanmar government's mistreatment towards the Rohingya is increasingly louder, but actions has been slow. I'll be speaking with YY Nu. She's a former political prisoner. In fact, at the age of 18, she was arrested and sentenced to 17 years in prison, together with her mother, sister, and brother, for supporting and promoting the idea of democracy in Myanmar. Her father was sentenced to a much longer term. In 2012, after 7 years in prison, she was released under a presidential amnesty for political prisoners. Since then, she has been dedicated herself to promote human rights and democracy in Myanmar. She's a Rohingya from Arakan state. YY was deeply moved by the escalation of the violence that she encountered upon her release from prison. Therefore, she decided to form the Women Peace Network Arakan as a platform to build peace and mutual understanding between Myanmar's different ethnicities and advocate for the rights of the marginalized women in Arakan. Through the Women's Peace Network, YY has campaigned in Myanmar and around the world for women's rights. Today at Durian ASEAN, she'll be sharing with us on the plight of the Rohingya, as well as sharing her hopes and aspiration for peace for her community.
The Durian Heat, bringing big ideas and critical opinions in Southeast Asia.
And first off, I want to say hi, how are you?
Hi, Arlene, how are you? I'm fine.
Regarding my first question today, how is it the current state of the Rohingya in Myanmar right now?
So yes, if you know, there was conflict in Arakan state where majority of the Rohingya were living in 2000. There were conflict in Arakan state in 2012, but after the conflict, about 150,000 Rohingya were displaced, and many of the people were killed. And since that time, up to 4 years now, we hope that the problem and the conflict will be solved, and people will have having better situations, and they might be resettled. But after 4 years of now, we have seen no progress, and we have been experiencing deterioration of more violations and human rights violations and increases of abuses and restrictions. For example, like after the violence since 2012, the Rohingya are living like under confinement, and up to 4 years, the state, the region are for the Rohingya, they are still imposing like Emergency Act 144, so they cannot organize more than 5 persons, and they cannot move freely one place to another place. So it's mean that mentally restrictions, not only just is physical movement restrictions, but also it's like mental restrictions. But in the Rakhine state, there were Rakhine Buddhists and Muslim Rohingya were staying, but they all kind of impose restrictions and abuses are only on the Rohingya, but not to the Rakhine. So not only that, this kind of human rights violations are continuing, and particularly people who are living in the camps, they are more confined in the camps, and they cannot go outside of the camps, and they have like not enough humanitarian assistance in terms of food, and the worst is healthcare. There is no healthcare. So people who are living in IDP camps, they have very difficult situations, life, and people who are outside of the camps, they have also similar situations. They can move one village to another village, but they cannot go one township to another township. But more restrictions on education. There has been no education since 2012 for the students and for the university students, and more job restrictions and restrictions on livelihood is imposing. So for this reason, a lot of people are fleeing from the country, and that is leading to the boat crisis in the ASEAN countries. This is one of the factors of human rights violations, but apart from that, there are major policy and ethnic cleansing policy is continuing by the government. It is proof evidenced by the actions of aspiring white card, and now attempt to issue new card called green card, which is kind of permanent residency. But what we see is this is kind of legalizing discriminations and continuing of their ethnic cleansing plan on the Rohingya. And because even though the Rohingya used to enjoy full citizenship rights in Burma, and they hold the national registration card, the same identity card with the other Burman ethnic people, but their citizenship was taken away after the 1982 law was enacted, and the citizenship card was taken away during 1992, and they were replaced with the white card. But even though they were holding white card, this white card or temporary registration card were falling under the National Registration Act. It meant that they were under the category of national citizen. Now the government attempt to issue this new light green card is falling under the Foreigner Registration Act. So by expiring white card, taking away all the document what they have, now their attempt is to put the Rohingya under the Foreigner Registration Act. So we call it legalized discriminations, and very tricky and very strategic plan by the government.
We'll take a short break. When we return, we will discuss more with YY New.
The Durian Heat, bringing big ideas and critical opinions in Southeast Asia.
Hi, you're back again with me, Arlene, and YY New on our discussion at the Durian Heat regarding on the plights of the Rohingya community. So regarding Buddhist monks in Myanmar, it seems like they are leading the discrimination against religious minorities, especially extremist monks like the Mabata groups. Why this is happening?
Burma is pluralistic country, pluralist society, and having many religious and ethnic minorities in the country, and we used to live peacefully together. And then, after the general military coup in 1962 by the General Ne Win, he set to use divide and rule policy towards many religious and ethnic minorities. And plus, the military used to rule the country with the Buddhist Burman nationalism. So, since Buddhist Burman were encouraged and get by the institutions, favored by the institutions, and get superiority by the institutions for a long time, they became a kind of a superior society in the minority, like that. But it is also widely, deeply rooted and practically also deeply practiced by the Buddhist monks and Buddhist leaders. So they were like kind of grown up, since 6 decades ago. But they were not properly used for bad reasons at that time. They were just led to become like that. But I think the regime of Myanmar, Burmese regime, currently they realize that it can be a benefit for them if they use this Burman Buddhist nationalism to divide people and to find an enemy instead of them. Because people of Burma used to believe that military and the government is bad. They persecute the people. But now, they find the new enemy, which is the Muslims. Muslims or the Rohingya. These are threat for them. So now they became like, okay, government is our protector. Government is the one who can protect our race and religion. So it's a lot to because it's a lot on the political reasons and also economic reasons. So, for those reasons, the monks are being used by those interest groups. So they are, because of the impunity that the racist group are getting after the balance to do whatever they want, to spread hate speech and to continue propaganda against the Muslims and to insult the Muslim community. In getting impunity for those kind of activities, it seems that they are highly encouraged by the powerful people. So this is main factor that they can be continuing this kind of racist behavior, hate speech, and propaganda. If the government control them or impose rule of law to them and to stop them, I don't think it will be happening. So it is more than, the arisings of nationalism or racism, but it is more than that.
So on the recent passing of the marriage bill in Myanmar, which will restrict the marriage between Buddhist women and men from outside their religion, how would this impact the Rohingya community?
Yes, the Buddhist women marriage law, which is package of race and religion, one of the package of race and religion protection law. The package of race and religion protection law has included 4 laws. The first one is that Buddhist women marriage law, and the second one is population control law, and the third one is conversion law, and the fourth one is law against polygamy. So those laws, a lot of the experts and the rights group are saying that these laws are not democratic law, and these are violating a lot of international human rights norms and standards, so it shouldn't be enacted and legislated. But the Parliament of Myanmar has already passed 3 of those laws. So from the political point of view, we see that this is a dangerous sign of the Burmese democracy, legislating undemocratic laws by the people parliament. So this is like negative sign for the transition to move towards the democracy. So this is one point. The second point is the law seems to be protecting Buddhism than others. So it is institutional discrimination by the government or parliament against the other religion, because it's saying that they are protecting Buddhism. So what about the Christians and Muslims and Hindus and other religions, right? So this is like kind of again the discriminatory practices of the parliament or the government, and legislating discriminatory laws to divide people and to discriminate people. So this is also undemocratic behavior again. And the third reason is that the law, as I told, the law seems to be named to be protecting Buddhist religions. Yeah, in generally it seems like that, and it's very, very unethical behavior. But at the same time, we don't see this can really protect the Buddhism. But it is violating rights of the Buddhist women itself. For example, Buddhist women marriage law. Buddhist women cannot marry whoever they love. So if they want to get married who they love, and they have to get permission from the various level community, family, community leaders, ward administrators, township administrators, to religious leaders. So they need to get various permissions to get married, to marry a man from the other religion. So it can also criminalize Buddhist women in the society, and it can have a lot of impact in the society. So it is also violating the rights of the Buddhist women itself. We do believe that. And the last thing is this kind of Buddhist, marriage law is marriage law, and particularly, but one of the other law in the race and religion protection package is birth control law, which we see this is a legalizing or legislating their unofficial practices in Rakhine State, where they used to practice since 1995, birth control of the Rohingya community, practices of birth restrictions on the Rohingya community since 1995. So there used to be like two-child policy against the Rohingya. Only Rohingya is unofficial, local order. With the local order, they used to restrict the birth rate of the Rohingya since 1995. But now, under the democracy, with the name of democracy, we see that these are legalizing the discrimination by legislation. So that's what we see, and it can be targeted not only Rohingya or not only Muslim, but also many other ethnic and religious minorities. So many other religious minorities have feared and concern on this race and religion package of law.
Mm-hmm. The international community have been voicing out on the Rohingya issue very, very loud and all over the world. But do you think the Myanmar government is listening to the pleas of the international community to end the discrimination and persecution against the Rohingya?
I think, yes, there are voices in the international actors, among the international actors, but it needs, I think, the need of more than voice to the action. So its lack of actions is make their voice weaken, and the government of Myanmar is avoiding to listen the international community voice. So I think this is the time to take concrete step by the international community, whether or as regionally or internationally, like regionally as a regional group like ASEAN or EU or like that, or individually. This is the time of to take actions concretely, not just concern and worry and words.
What kind of action that you think would be the best by the international community?
It can be, I think, we can take various actions, and at least collaborative actions and pressure towards the government to solve the issues and to stop the persecutions against the Rohingya.
We'll take a short break. When we return, we will discuss more with YY Nu.
The Durian Heat, bringing big ideas and critical opinions in Southeast Asia.
Hi, you're back again with me on Durian ASEAN, together with YY Nu on her plea for peace for the Rohingya. Do you think ASEAN is capable of addressing the human rights violations by the Myanmar military government?
Yeah, I understand that ASEAN has non-interference policy, and which is one of the main challenge of the ASEAN to move forward to the to become a stronger ASEAN. As long as they don't address human rights violations among each other, it is very difficult for the ASEAN to become reputed and stronger ASEAN. So their non-interference policy must be revised or abolished, but apart from that, when it comes to the Rohingya problem, I think it's beyond the non-interference now, because Myanmar is already interfering other countries by sending these boat people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think they should be concretely working on that and giving pressure to the government to solve the issue, to address the issue. Otherwise, they will be receiving more and more both people, and in the future, it can become the regional threat the refugees can become. So it is very important for the ASEAN to take steps, concrete steps, to solve the problem. I think if they take steps concretely by the initiating of the Malaysia, since Malaysia is the ASEAN chairmanship, if the Malaysia take initiative with collaborating with other ASEAN countries, I think they can do something. And ASEAN has much more power than much more influence and power than other international community towards Burma. So they should be definitely doing this. I think they are already late on that. So I believe that they would not be late at the end of the day.
You're a young Rohingya activist working side by side with the international community, trying to raise voice on the Rohingya plea for peace. One area, what about young Southeast Asian? How can they contribute towards to highlight the human rights violation that is happening in Myanmar right now?
I think young people from the ASEAN and the Southeast Asia and countries should be more aware of what's going on in their countries and neighboring countries, and should have ambition to solve these problems, fundamental problems, and should try to promote human rights situations in their region, and because they will be the people who will become leaders in the respective countries and in the region. So we all should be understanding that we should what we should be prioritizing. As long as we address the fundamental issues as fundamental human rights violations, our region cannot be would not be moving towards to the better society or reaching with other regions. And I also think that the young Southeast Asians should be asking questions to the government what they are doing, how they are solving the Rohingya issue, human rights violations in Burma.
So the next question is regarding on the Myanmar general election is now fixed at November 8th, even though Aung San Suu Kyi is busy campaigning for popular votes. But do you think the election would actually drown out the pleas for peace for the Rohingya?
The elections is ahead of time, very close now. But we hope that election could change something. But it is more important that the elections is free and fair and all inclusive. And if it is free and if it is not free and fair, if the Rohingya lose right to participate in the elections, which they used to get get right to participate in the elections, in all elections in Burma, but if they lose right to participate in the elections this time, I think the things will be more difficult instead of getting better. So the most important thing is to have all-inclusive elections. All the rights of the people are protected and free and fair elections.
Mm-hmm. What are other challenges that you foresee that will be happening during the election itself?
Yes, we really concerned that if the elections will not be free and fair, one thing, and the other thing is if there is any problem before the election, for example, if the nationalist group would be doing something ahead of the election, and if the conflict will happen again,
So that's our main concern and worry. And we hope that the government of Myanmar could handle this. If it is happening, they will stop it immediately, not to harm the elections and not to harm the people.
So finally, you have visited the White House to meet President Obama, and of course in Geneva, you have met a number of Nobel laureates for peace. How has that experience shaped you as a Rohingya activist?
I think, that gave me a lot of encouragement and power to continue our work and to fight for freedom, for not only for the Rohingya but also for all people in our society. That is because it's not only just encouragement and power, but also it gives a lot of energy by meeting with this a lot of admirable and inspirational people. So it is very privileged to have this kind of opportunity. But at the same time, we all young people need to know if we try, we can do.
Mm-hmm.
If we try, we can change our society. If we try, we can change. So in my case, I'm from the young women from the world most persecuted community. And also, my young life was spent in the prison due to the repressive government. But I should be, normally, generally, I should be depressing and giving up my life and just staying as a normal person, because of the experiences I had in the past. But I took that hardship as a strength, and I determined not to give up on the injustice, and I determined that those hardships not to experience by the other young people like me, that kind of hardship. So for those determinations, what I know is I have to continue work on the injustice, to promote human rights and democracy, and to continue on the injustice. So with this determination, if you work in positive ways, you can reach to
Mm-hmm.
this point. But after 3 years of my experience, after releasing from the jail, working hard and with commitment, with positive manner, and with commitment, being invited by the White, as a result, I've been invited by the White House and meeting with several world leaders. It shows that if we try, we can do. So that's what I want to give message to all young people in Asian countries or around the world. What we need is we should have good determination and commitment, and the mind of not to giving up.
Mm-hmm.
For any reason, however we have difficulties. If we try hard, we can change our society. We can work for the betterment of human beings.
With that, thank you very much, Wai Nu.
You're welcome.